Have you ever wondered who would still stand beside you if everything you offered was taken away? Not your success, not your presence, not your power, just you, bare and quiet, in a world where appearances are mistaken for allegiance, where smiles are easy and words are cheap. Loyalty has become a costume worn for convenience, but true loyalty, as the Stoics and Machiavelli understood, cannot be assumed. It must be revealed, not through grand declarations, but through silence, distance, discomfort. Real loyalty emerges not in the glow of benefit, but in the absence of advantage, and those who only stayed for the warmth will vanish when the fire dims. In this video, we'll explore the quiet trials that separate the loyal from the opportunistic, subtle, calm, and often uncomfortable. These are not games, they are mirrors, and what they show you can change the way you build your life forever. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn may not just reveal others. It may also reveal you. 1. The 5 loyalty tests. Who's real when the lights go out? Here are the 5 subtle but undeniable tests Machiavelli would have smiled upon. Each is designed not to manipulate, but to reveal, and once you apply them, the truth cannot hide. 1. Withdraw the spotlight. The first test is this. Take away your attention. Stop offering validation, praise, or presence. Remove the light you've been unconsciously shining on them and watch how they behave in the dark. If they retreat, become cold, or attach themselves to someone else, understand that they were never aligned with you. They were attached to how you made them feel. That is not loyalty. That is dependence on affirmation. A true ally does not require an audience. They do not need the glow of your praise to remain present. In fact, it is often in your silence and stillness that real loyalty leans in. It checks on you without being prompted. It holds its position when no one is watching. But those who evaporate or shift their allegiance at the first dimming of light were never standing with you. They were feeding off your shine. Let them go without regret. You haven't lost anything. You've simply revealed the truth. And that truth grants you power. The kind of power that doesn't shout but sharpens. 2. Introduce uncertainty. The second test requires you to disrupt comfort. Speak of a bold decision. Share a new direction you're considering, one that introduces risk or distance. Watch their response. Are they excited for your growth? Or do they mask their discomfort with concern? Do they start cautioning you not out of wisdom, but out of fear that your elevation might leave them behind? The Stoics taught that we must walk the path of virtue, even when it diverges from the approval of others. A true friend will rise with you or make space for your flight. A pretender, however, will begin to anchor you subtly. They will use soft words and worried tones, but their true fear lies in your potential to outgrow them. This is where you must observe without reacting. Let them speak. The more they explain their hesitation, the more they reveal whether they seek your safety or their security in your shadow. Growth is the great separator. Those who resist your transformation were never loyal to your soul, only to your past self that made them feel comfortable. 3. Go silent. The third test strips away performance. Say nothing. Do nothing. Go silent, not to punish, but to make space. See who enters the space. The Stoics understood the wisdom of silence. In stillness, truth rises. When you are no longer actively showing up, who still reaches out? Who notices your absence not as a personal offense, but as a signal that something might be wrong? Those who only appear when you are shining, producing, posting, or speaking are not allies. They are spectators. They clap when you perform, but leave when the music stops. Real loyalty listens in the silence. It steps forward without needing to be asked. It does not demand explanations. It offers presence without prompting. This test is painful because it shatters the illusion that support is mutual. But illusions are dangerous. They keep weak connections alive. If someone disappears in your quiet, they were only there for your noise. Let your silence speak. It will tell you more about someone than 1,000 conversations. 4. Show temporary weakness. The fourth test is subtle yet transformative. Allow yourself to be seen in a moment of vulnerability, not dramatized, but real, a missed step, a moment of uncertainty, a request for help. Then observe. Some people only know how to stand beside strength. They are drawn to your discipline, your confidence, your steadiness. But when that image slips, they step away. Not because they cannot help, but because your humanity unsettles them. It reminds them that their connection to you was built not on substance, but on admiration. The Stoics believed that weakness is not to be feared, but embraced as part of nature. If someone cannot stand with you in your humanness, they do not deserve to stand with you in your power. The one who remains steady when the image of perfection breaks. The one who supports without needing you to wear your armor. That one is rare. That one is worth keeping. All others were never really there. They were holding your strength like a ladder, and when that ladder wobbles, they seek a new one. Let them. 5. Offer a chance to betray. The fifth test is the most revealing. Offer someone a quiet opportunity to gain something by placing their interests above yours. It does not need to be theatrical. Just create a moment where they are faced with a choice, one where taking the path that benefits them may cost you, even slightly. Then watch. Do they inform you? Do they hesitate? Do they choose transparency? Or do they move silently toward what serves them best? Loyalty is not revealed through declarations. It is revealed in the invisible moments. The Stoics held virtue above appearance. This is your chance to see what someone values when no one else is watching. The person who fails this test may not admit what they've done, but you will feel it. And once you feel it, believe it. Words can lie, but choices, patterns, and silences rarely do. The one who comes forward with honesty, even when they could have profited in secret, is the one who carries principle. That is the person worth building with. All others are noise, and in the realm of strategy. Noise is the enemy of clarity. You do not need to trap people. Just observe how they move when no one is keeping score. That is where the truth lives. And once the tests are done, once silence has revealed what words concealed, you're left with something more valuable than certainty. You're left with clarity. 2. The outcome of testing. Clarity over crowds. The truth is this: most people will fail these tests, not because they are malicious, but because they are untrained in the discipline of loyalty. They are shaped by comfort, moved by appearances, and built for transactions, not for truth. But Machiavelli, like the Stoics, never placed value on the surface of things. He sought the outcome, and the highest outcome of loyalty testing is clarity. You will lose people, yes, but you will gain something far more valuable: peace. A silent, unshakable peace that comes not from numbers, but from knowing that those who remain have been refined by fire, not gathered by chance. You do not need an army. You do not need applause. You need 2, or 1, or even none for a season, if it means standing only with what is real. The kind of presence that does not flinch when the room empties. The kind of person who guards your name when you are not there to defend it. But such people do not reveal themselves unless tested. Many spend their entire lives surrounded by echoes, not voices. Surrounded by figures who nod when they speak, who laugh when they succeed, who fade when they suffer. They name it friendship. They name it loyalty. But Machiavelli would call it camouflage. a thin veil of affection masking the slow erosion of your center. And if you do not stop to test those you call allies, you will find yourself building something precious on a foundation of sand. The Stoics taught that self-mastery requires external clarity, not to control others, but to govern the self with wisdom. So when you test, you are not being cruel, you are being exact. You are not stirring betrayal. You are exposing what was already there. Many will resist. They will call you cold, distant, or changed. And they are not wrong. You have changed. You have chosen to no longer trust without proof. You do not hand your inner circle to the loudest voice or the kindest tone. You give it to the one who endures, who stays consistent without applause, and that shift will make others uncomfortable. Because when your awareness rises, their influence shrinks. Let it. For this discomfort is not conflict. It is clarity taking its rightful place at the center of your life. 3. The paradox of testing, revealing the loyal. Here lies the paradox. When you begin testing those around you not to provoke, but to observe, when you move with intention and silence rather than noise and explanation, the disloyal will quietly fall away. But something more powerful happens alongside that loss. The loyal begin to appear, not with grand declarations or visible acts of allegiance, but with something far rarer, quiet consistency, the kind that does not chase your light, but stands beside you when your light fades, when you withdraw and someone steps in, not for praise, not for advantage, but simply because they care for what is right. That is not flattery, that is alignment. And in a world built on performance, alignment is a treasure. You begin to understand that one loyal presence is worth more than 100 familiar faces. Because true loyalty does not crave attention. It does not demand constant affirmation. It simply remains. It is calm, not loud. Steady, not reactive. It is not something that needs to be proved again and again, because it is woven into the fabric of one's actions, not their words. When someone truly stands with you, you feel it not only in triumph, but in trial, not just when you are visible and strong, but when you are quiet, uncertain, or unseen. They do not retreat, they remain, imperfect perhaps, but present. The brilliance of Machiavelli's tests lies in their quiet execution. You do not need to argue or accuse. You do not need to provoke or explain. Just create the conditions where truth has no place to hide. Pull back, allow distance, introduce friction. Watch. The right ones will not panic. They will not run. They will endure the stillness because they were never there for noise. They were there for you and those who leave. Let them. Every day you keep someone unworthy in your inner circle. You weaken the fortress of your life. Do not patch over cracks with comfort. Tear out what is hollow and rebuild with stone, because in the end, loyalty that survives the test is not just a companion. It is protection, it is strength, it is truth you can stand on. 4. The purification of your circle, clarity as power. And when they walk away, let them. Do not chase, do not explain, do not fill the silence. That silence is not weakness, it is your crown. It is the sign that you no longer trade your peace for proximity. At first, it may feel like something has been lost, but what you're feeling is not emptiness, it is space. The kind of space that invites strength. The kind of silence that filters the false from the true. As Machiavelli understood, real power does not grow in crowded rooms filled with untested allies. It flourishes in spaces that have been cleansed of pretense. Every time a disloyal person leaves, you are not losing support. You are removing interference. Their presence was never neutral. It was weakening you without noise. Every word from them distorted your vision. Every smile made you second-guess your instincts. And in matters of discipline, clarity, and ambition, hesitation is the slow death. not just in war, but in all things. That is why we test, not from malice, but from duty. Not because we seek control, but because we are guarding what cannot be rebuilt easily: our time, our energy, our foundation. The Stoics teach that virtue must be guarded with the same vigilance as a fortress guards its gates. You do not test once and trust forever. You inspect often. You observe in quiet cycles. You watch for the subtle erosion, because betrayal rarely announces itself. It whispers in neglect. It grows in small compromises. And history has proven again and again, empires fall not by the hands of enemies, but by the decay of their own walls. The most dangerous threat is not outside the gates. It is the ambition of those already within. And so you test as a habit, not an event. When you speak of change, you watch who resists. When you fall silent, you observe who vanishes. When you expose your weakness, you examine who steps forward and why. And when you offer a quiet temptation, you note who chooses virtue over gain. All of this happens without accusation, without spectacle. You become the quiet mirror they cannot see, because people show the most truth when they believe no one is watching. Your silence becomes your strategy, and your observation, your strength. Never explain your standards. Let your stillness do what words never could. 5. Not how they treat you, but how they represent you. This is where most fail to see clearly. They measure loyalty by how someone treats them when they are present. But true loyalty is not revealed in the light. It is revealed in the unseen. It is how someone carries your name in your absence. How they hold their silence when critics speak. How they stand when power shifts and your influence fades. If you wish to know who is truly with you, remove yourself, step back from the room, the title, the advantage, then wait. Watch who stays grounded when the rewards disappear. That is where loyalty lives, not in proximity, but in principle, not in behavior, but in value. The Stoics never taught us to chase approval. They taught us to remain with those who choose us when we offer nothing. And Machiavelli did not write for those who hunger to be liked. He wrote for those who choose clarity over comfort. Because power is not found in having many. It is found in being able to walk alone and not flinch. The more refined your alliances, the more unshakable your stance. You begin to see the difference almost immediately. Real loyalty does not ask to be noticed. It moves in the background. It protects without being prompted. It holds its ground when storms hit. It is not deterred by silence, nor does it retreat in discomfort. When you are wounded, it does not recoil. It leans in, not out. That kind of presence is rare, but it is worth more than any title, any fame, any crowd, because when you encounter someone who will defend you without being asked, who sees you slipping and steadies your ground without announcing it, you recognize the truth. You do not need a circle full of names. You need one name that never shifts. That is strength. That is wealth. And that is the kind of loyalty you do not find. You reveal it by standing still and letting the dust clear. Then you'll see who was walking with you and who was merely passing by. 6. The mirror of loyalty, embodying what you demand. And this is where the final test begins, not on others, but within yourself. Because once you demand loyalty, you must also reflect it. The Stoics taught that the discipline we seek in others must first be forged within. When you observe who disappears in silence, who folds under pressure, who shifts when power shifts, you inevitably begin to ask yourself the same questions. Am I the kind of presence I search for? Do I stand firm when it is inconvenient? Do I protect the name of another in rooms they'll never enter? Do I stay when no one is watching? That question is the sharpest of all, for it reveals not who they are, but who you are. And in that mirror, greatness begins. True strength is not measured by how many follow you, but by how few you betray. Power is not in demanding loyalty from others while excusing your own inconsistency. It is in becoming the kind of force that holds firm regardless of gain. Machiavelli understood this well. A ruler must not only be feared or respected, he must be trusted by the few who truly matter. And trust is not given. It is earned through consistency, through discipline, through restraint. When you find someone who meets your standard, who passes through your trials not with excuses but with presence, not with noise but with clarity, that person must not remain in your circle. They become part of your core, and your core is sacred. From there, everything shifts. You move with focus. You act with calm. You no longer explain. You no longer watch your back, because now you have something most never do. You have another who defends without demand, who shields without being told. They do not compete silently. They do not celebrate your fall. They are the ones who guard the silence around you so you can build without distraction. In this, the test completes its cycle, not just to find the loyal, but to become loyal in return, fiercely, selectively, completely, not to many, but to the one who earned it. That is no longer strategy. That is philosophy. That is mastery. 7. The throne of clarity, dominance through precision. Most will never reach this place because they are too afraid to walk alone. They refuse to test those around them, not because they trust too deeply, but because they fear the truth. They fear the emptiness that follows when the false are removed. So they remain surrounded but unguarded, celebrated but exposed, accepted but quietly diminished. And this is the root of weakness. The Stoics taught that fear of loss is the chain that binds a man to mediocrity. Machiavelli knew it too. In the hierarchy of power, respect always outweighs affection. Popularity may fill a room, but it never secures a throne. Only clarity does. So when you begin to cut away what is vague, when you isolate, when you refine, you are not turning cold. You are becoming exact. Precision is not cruelty. It is strength. It is vision. It is the refusal to be clouded by noise. Those who misunderstand this are not wired for leadership. They cling, they follow, they rely. But you, if you're watching this, are here to lead, to see the patterns others miss, to test before the blow arrives, to sense danger in what others call devotion. That is your edge. You begin to observe more sharply the ones who agree too easily, the ones who never reveal depth, the ones always present, yet somehow never there. Test them, and when they fail, let it be done without noise, no confrontation, no correction, just removal. What remains after the fire is not many, but it is strong. The few who stayed are your shield. They do not speak often. They do not seek recognition. They simply protect. They sharpen your path and guard your blind spots, not for applause, but because they are cut from the same stone as you. And in that rare bond, you find your true strength. Quiet, steady, unshakable. 8. The lifestyle of vigilance. Never stop testing. Now you move with a different rhythm. You speak with precision. You listen with discipline. Every interaction becomes a window. Every silence becomes a revelation. You are no longer here to be entertained or distracted. You are here to observe, to test, to understand. The test is not a trap. It is a tool. And when someone fails, the response is not emotional, it is exact. No confrontation, no dramatic farewell, just absence, just space, just the quiet removal of those who were never meant to stay. You realize the ones who truly belong never need to be chased. They remain not because of gain, but because of alignment, because what you stand for is what they live by. And in that silence, you find something rare. Not loneliness, not emptiness, but clarity. clean space, no noise, no confusion, just presence, just substance. No longer do you confuse proximity with protection or conversation with connection. Those who remain do not drain you, they do not demand, they do not perform, they understand without explanation, they support without needing credit, because they carry the same code, not in words but in discipline, not in affection but in action. This is the code of loyalty, not spoken but lived, and it reveals itself in quiet ways, in how they carry your name, in how they guard your absence, in how they hold firm when the crowd shifts. Machiavelli understood that power attracts masks, that where influence grows, deception gathers. So the wise do not grow lax. They remain vigilant. They do not forget what was revealed. They do not excuse weakness that threatens structure. They forgive if it preserves position. But they do not reopen doors that betrayal once closed. Because betrayal is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives in silence, a hesitation when you needed affirmation, a missing voice in a room full of critics, the door that stayed shut when it should have been open. If you are not listening closely, you miss it. That is why the loyalty test is not an event. It is a lifestyle, a posture, a philosophy. You stop assuming, you start watching, you stop asking how someone feels, you begin observing what they choose, and when you see the fracture, however small, do not paint over it with memory, do not blur it with compassion. Cut, clean, final. You do not explain, you do not negotiate, you do not hope they change, because loyalty is not a chance outcome, it is a decision. And if they wavered once under pressure, they will falter again. You do not owe them a second wound. Your duty is to your clarity, your duty is to your structure, and the moment you let go of what is false, you do not grieve, you reorganize, you recalibrate, and you step forward with less weight and more force. This is not suspicion, it is sovereignty. It is the architecture of a Stoic life, built not on borrowed strength but on tested loyalty. You do not need a crowd. You need certainty, and every failed test brings you closer to it. Every quiet removal sharpens your world. While others lose time managing doubt and noise, you act, you execute, surrounded not by the loud, but by the proven, and that is how you build the kind of life no betrayal can shake. Trust was never the enemy, blind trust was. What you now hold is not suspicion, but precision, loyalty earned, not given, and when it is returned, protect it, build with it. Let your silence speak for what you know. If this made you pause, subscribe for more, and comment below with just 2 words, loyalty revealed. The next lesson begins where most turn away.